Hello, good evening, welcome to Late Night Live, the Holmfirth Arts Festival magazine show, which will tell you a little bit about what's happening in Holmfirth over the weekend. First of all, we've got some guests in the studio tonight. We've got Corsa with us. Hello, Corsa.
Hi.
And then we'll be having Pete Selwood, a comedian, and the band Mambo Jambo. Pete and Frankie will be here in the studio. But first of all, let's have a look at what's happening in Holmfirth this weekend. Okay, so... Earthworks New Mill Community Garden will be hosting Art in the Woods this weekend, and the community garden is just above the church on Sude Hill. Local artists Sarah Branson, Dragon Willow and Mick Kirby Geddes have worked with local schools and community groups to create a wonderful art trail through the trees and gardens. There'll be tea and homemade cakes for refreshment available in the woods. And as well as looking at art in the woods, you'll be able to make art in the woods at one of the craft workshops that will be running over the weekend. That's Art in the Woods, 10 until 4, every Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Art in the Woods there from Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 10 until 4. In New Mill, just by the church. Beautiful, beautiful setting. So we've got pictures now from Coogie, which is a show that Kausa Mukhtar has written about 3 stories, as far as I can work out, 3 stories from her childhood and from northern Pakistan. And she's with us here in the studio. So, hello, Corsa. Tell me a little bit about the show. It's autobiographical, is it?
Yes, there is an element of it that's autobiographical. So it talks about my childhood, my trips to Azad Kashmir as a teenager, and my connection to particular Sufi literature.
So, whereabouts is Azad Kashmir?
Azad Kashmir is sort of a northern part of Pakistan, so it is part of Pakistan, but it's got a unique identity and history.
And am I right in thinking that's where your father comes from?
Yeah, both my parents come from Azad Kashmir.
So the story it involves Punjabi folk tales. How do they come about?
So it's a Punjabi folk Sufi literature, which has lots of poetry and storytelling within it. It's always been an oral tradition, and I decided to do something visual due to the fact that my children, who are second generation born in the UK, don't actually speak Punjabi and speak English. So I was really passionate about passing on something that was quite important to me growing up to them, but I had to change its format from something that is oral, that they can listen to, or music, into something visual. And
you grew up in Halifax in the 1980s, and it says that you've said that this is very much the story of a Pakistani girl growing up in Halifax in the 1980s. But what else is involved in the story?
The story, the show includes a lot of stories. There is the story of the poet, the Sufi saint in the 1800s during the British Empire that wrote the famous text Saif al-Muluk, which Googie is a short part of. And then there is the story of Alam Bahar, who was a famous folk singer, once awarded a medal by the Queen of England Silver Jubilee in 1977 for a song that he wrote for her. And then there's the elements of story of myself, and me growing up and my connection to this particular piece of literature. And the final part of the story is the story of Googie, which means dove in English, and the story of the dove herself.
So I'm coming to see the show with my family on tomorrow night, on Friday night.
Fantastic.
So what can I expect?
You can expect lots of exciting things. You can expect some puppetry. You can meet this chicken.
What's the chicken called?
The chicken hasn't got a name. It's only out in the play for a few minutes, but it seems to have been really well received by younger audiences. They seem to enjoy the chicken, and my performer who actually puppets the chicken and hits chicken sound effects are very well received, as well as the chicken trying to peck me to death during the show. Yeah, so puppetry, different types of puppetry. So you've got, this is like obviously two-dimensional puppetry, it's a movement. There's some 3D puppetry at the end. I perform in it as well, and there's some singing. There's Sufi songs, but the play is really unique because it's dual language. It's English and Punjabi.
And you wear a moustache?
I do for a short time wear a moustache in the play. Yeah, I've been told I look better with one, so I was contemplating wearing one tonight, but then I decided against it.
Now, of course, this isn't something you do every day, is it?
No, this is a brand new venture. I think a lot of people started doing new things during lockdown. So just before the lockdown, I had been a teacher for the last decade, a science teacher in secondary schools across Bradford. And I decided 10 years was enough as a teacher. And I had been wanting to do something creative, and the Sufi literature is so important to me. I now wanted to try and sort of communicate that to my children particularly, but the next generation of Pakistani children that don't have as strong as connection with the language or with Pakistan itself, to try and keep that heritage alive.
And tell me about the cassettes.
Cassettes, yeah. So when my parents and many other people from Azad Kashmir will have come, my father's generation, when they will have come here to work in the mills, there was obviously very few people who had phones. International phone calls were extremely expensive. A lot of people that came here weren't well educated, so writing letters was quite a challenge. So what happened was they recorded cassettes. So the whole family in Pakistan, everybody in the family would sort of update you with how they were doing, and then they would send the cassette. With anyone who travelled to the UK, they would bring the cassette, we would listen to it, then we would record all our news back to our grandparents so they could hear how we were doing. So it was really, really important way to connect, and in the play, as we say, very similar to the voice notes we now do on WhatsApp, just take a lot longer.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Nowadays it's sort of caught up. That was the analog age,
Yes, yeah.
when and you actually physically sent the tape across.
Yeah.
But now we just do it all on WhatsApp, or indeed live streaming.
Yeah.
So how long does the show last?
The show's 45 to 50 minutes.
And there's music and dancing? No.
The puppets do some dancing. We've got some marionettes, so we've got marionettes in there as well. So like I said, we've got a lot of different types of puppetry, which is really, really been well received, because I think people imagine puppets, they imagine somebody putting their hand up a sock puppet or something of that nature. So when people have seen the show, this isn't what I was expecting when I heard puppetry. So yeah, it's been amazing.
It's good, that's good. So we've got some pictures of the show. You've got an assistant that works with you?
Yes, my co-performer, Harry, yeah.
And there are some of, we've got an old lady, some children.
It's a young lady that is a dancer and a singer, and the one in the green, which is depicting Alam Lohar, which is the folk singer, and the people in the background and the audience, the little puppets.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Thank you very much, Corsa, and we look forward to seeing your show.
Thank you for having me.
So the festival goes right through till Sunday night, when we'll be having a big farewell concert in the Civic Hall, and as part of that concert will be Mambo Jambo, and here's a little bit of their music.
And it surely is a train, surely is a train, Lord, that surely is a train. I see black smoke rising and it surely is a train. Well, I'm on my long journey home. That's not my money, but a $2 bill, $2 bill, Lord, and it's raining, I want to get home. The way we're acting, I swear it's a shame. Who would have thought that we'd be playing these games? So let me tell you as if you didn't know. I really want to go with you. Oh, somebody like you, somebody just like you. Oh, want somebody just like me. Whoa, somebody like me, somebody just like me. Whoa, want somebody just like you. I mean, just like you.
And that was Mambo Jumbo, and Pete and Frankie are with me here in the studio. Hello.
Hello there.
Hi.
Let me just move the camera a little bit so we can get you both nicely in shot there. The first thing that strikes me is that you seem to play an awful lot of instruments. Can you tell me what instruments you play in your show?
I suppose we do. We've got about half a dozen each. What do you play, Frankie?
I'm on the sax, flute, clarinet, guitar, ukulele, bit of percussion, foot percussion, vocals. Oh, and I've got the steel pan, steel drum. That's my latest. And the spoons.
Spoons, very important, the spoons.
Did I see an accordion?
Yeah, I play the accordion. I play it left-handed and upside down.
Oh.
I have banjo, guitar, ukulele as well. I play things with my feet as well, and that includes a cowbell, a tambourine, and a suitcase.
Yes, I've heard about the suitcase. How do you play a suitcase?
Well, it's a nice old wooden suitcase. It's quite solid, and if I attach a pedal to it, like a bass drum pedal, with a microphone inside it, it gives a nice meaty thump.
So you're standing up,
Yeah.
with a foot pedal, bashing the.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like a cajon, in a sense.
It is like a cajon. I'm playing with my foot. I'm just kind of tapping along with my foot in a way.
And I read that there's an instrument called a tres.
A tres, yeah. That's a Cuban instrument. We play a few Cuban songs, and it's basically a kind of a restrung guitar, and it gives a very specifically Cuban sound. It's very rootsy sound. In fact, a lot of our music is kind of roots music.
I was going to say, how would you describe your particular? Is there one word that you could use to cover your particular type of music?
Well, we cover lots of different styles, but we like to think of it, and especially for this Sunday's closing party for the Holmfirth Arts Festival, as kind of celebratory, upbeat music. Feel good?
Yeah.
We hope party style.
So, I mean, it's definitely foot tapping music. Is it dancing music? Would you expect
Could be, yes.
people to get up and dance?
We hope so.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that on Saturday night no, I beg your pardon, it's not Saturday night at all. It's Sunday night in the Civic Hall, and I think we start at 6 o'clock. We start at 6. How long will you be playing for? Will you play 2 sets, 1 set?
We're playing for an hour, and we're followed by the fantastic Biscuit Head and the Biscuit Badgers.
Great band.
Fantastic
Yeah,
band.
recommended.
So overall, a party evening for everybody, starting at 6 o'clock in the evening at the Civic Hall. Thank you very much indeed, Frankie and Pete, for that. And now we will be moving on to a local comedian, Pete Selwood, who lives in Homley.
You all right? Cool. I'm going to start with an apology, because a lot of obviously, Freddie's made you all feel really welcome and relaxed, and that's what all good comedians should do. I don't really do that, to be honest with you. I'll tell you what I brought to the room: tension. You can feel it. I'm definitely feeling it. I'm aware of that. And I'm aware what you are all thinking as well. You're all going to each other, oh, I hope he mentions it. Because if he doesn't, this is going to be a horrible 5 minutes for everyone involved. So we'll get out of the way early on, so the more observant of you will have realised I've in fact been born with one hand. I think because I do speak a little bit about disability in my act, a lot of people think I've kind of like got a chip on my shoulder about it, but I don't really, to answer the end of the day. Yes, I was born with one hand, but my brother is ginger, so I've taken it as a win.
Well, that was Pete Selwood a few years ago, and Pete was voted Yorkshire Comedian of the Year in 2018, and he's with me tonight. Hello, Pete.
Hi, how you doing? You alright?
You come from Barnsley over the hill,
Yeah, I'm from Penistone, but I live in Honley now because I'm doing better.
so you're still staying in North, and you've moved up to Honley.
Oh yeah, I don't want to move too far away, no.
And I've just heard that this week, on Monday, you became a father.
Yeah, it's, I'm tired, but yeah, it's on Monday, yeah, it's Florence.
So, are you going to be able to get enough sleep?
We'll see, won't we? We'll see what happens. It's exciting.
So, is there a particular flavour of northern comedy, do you think?
I think there is, yeah. I think there's a huge difference, particularly in terms of narrative-based stuff. So you'll see on TV, most narrative-based stuff, sitcoms, is generally based around the south, whereas in terms of stand-up, I think there is a very much a northern... You can kind of tell northern comedy, not necessarily by accents, but just how it is, and it's very much a kind of... I think it's connects with people's real lives more, rather than focusing on stranger things, I guess.
Whereabouts did you start performing? Where were your first gigs?
My first gig was the Frog and Bucket in Manchester. They do these horrible nights called gong shows, where basically you've got to go up and do 5 minutes, but there's people with cards in the audience, and if you're not funny, they will put the cards up. And it's horrible. They're horrible. But I got through my first 5 minutes and I didn't get like gonged off, because they gong you off if the cards go up, and then they play bet loser, to rub it in. But yeah, I just started doing that, and then I think I just got lucky as the years went on.
But I mean, before that, did you know you were funny? Did you practice in front of the mirror?
I think it's hard not to sound arrogant, but like people go, "Oh, I don't think I'm funny, but I got into comedy." Well, that's impossible, because you must, on some level, think you're funny. And I fancy myself, but I hang around with a lot of the comedians. But when people ask who are the funniest people, like I enjoy spending time with, generally my missus and my friends. But it's different because it's a show rather than actual conversation.
So, do you have heroes in comedy? Do you model your act, your style, your stand-up on anybody
I don't
in
really.
particular?
The people I watch are people who aren't anything like me, because I just know I can't do it. So people like Ross Noble and people who do stranger stuff, because I know that's not me, so I quite enjoy that. I always say Rob Rouse, who people don't really necessarily know, but like when I was 17, like I saw him for the first time at Penistone Paramount, and I was just like blown away by the concept of like being a comedian. And he was like quite big at the time, and he's still doing really well. Like, he's on like Upstart Crow, which is on the BBC and stuff like that. So he's doing it. He's still doing well, and just I always say him because also he's just a nice man now, and it's nice to be working with someone that you at one point looked at and went, "Oh my God, isn't he amazing?"
So, is there a sort of a group of northern comedians, or a group of comedians that you, for want of a better word, hang out with?
Yeah, I hang around with, like I'm in a double act with someone called Jack Carroll. So we talk to each other probably every day, whether we work or not. Because at the moment we're working on a script for something that I can't actually discuss. I've just remembered that I can't discuss it. But working on a script for something, it's quite exciting. So yeah, so I hang around with him a lot. But most comedians I don't really talk to that much, because all they want to talk about is comedy, and it's a bit like a busman's holiday. Do you know what I mean?
You were on BBC Three, a series called Laugh Lessons, disabled in that club.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah, me and Jack did a live show. We did a disability sketch show as a live thing, which is quite difficult, because when you do a sketch show that's live, one thing that you have to have is costume changes, and job's really hard when the other one's got cerebral palsy. You can't do it very quickly. But basically, it's one of the sketches that we did from that, and a producer asked us to submit some, and we did that, and it's exciting. And from there, they want to look at other things with us, which is Because I guess it's quite a unique concept, like disabled sketch comedy.
Well, I can say with shows like The Last Leg with Adam Hills and Alex Brooker, is there a new acceptance of a broader spectrum, a broader group of people that everyone can be welcomed in?
I think so, yeah, and I think the point is that they're trying to. Some people say like, oh, you don't want to be the token, whatever, but like they are genuinely trying to diversify a lot of stuff in comedy, and then some people think, oh, they've gone too far one way, but I think. My argument is, if you think they've gone too far one way now, it probably makes up for the last 50 years or so, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So let's call it a draw. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You mentioned a show with a wheelchair in, which you thought was very good.
Yeah, it was the fact that it was Russell T Davies thing. I think it was called Years and Years, and there was a character in it, and she was in a wheelchair. But the whole point was it wasn't mentioned at all, and I think that's kind of what, for me, that's inclusion. Inclusion isn't, oh, I'm just going to give you this role because you are, I don't know, gay, black, or disabled. It's like, this is the character, but this character could be anything, you know, and it doesn't need to be an intrinsic part of what that person is. And I think we're going in the right direction in that way, certainly.
I think Armando Iannucci's David Copperfield, which had colourblind casting. I thought
It's fantastic because you got like Benedict Wong, haven't you, and it's not referenced at all. But it doesn't take away from it because it's a story that everyone knows anyway. Instead, you've just got people in who are going to do a really good job.
Yeah, getting a good actor.
And I guess it gives just people opportunities that they wouldn't have got before. So, for example, if you're an Asian actor, and how many period piece options are you going to get? You know, it's just not going to happen. It's not fair. You know, so it's a good way of doing it, I think.
Where's next for you? What's the sort of pathway?
Well, I'm doing a lot of stand-up at the moment. I've got a few little writing projects in with BBC and Channel 4 at the moment, which is quite cool. But it's all, you know, it takes a while, these things, because, you've got people analysing comedy who aren't comedians. That's my opinion. But it's all exciting.
We don't need to do
a lot more writing at the moment.
And the big question, are you going to stay in Honley or are you going to be drawn down to London?
No, absolutely not. London is a place to go to work. The North is a place to live.
Oh, I think, Pete, we can end it on that. Thank you very much indeed. You can see his show at the Civic Hall on Saturday evening at around about 9 o'clock. There'll be two other comedians. There'll be Sita Wrightson and Kieran Hodgson performing as well. But you can see Pete Selwood on Saturday night in the Civic Hall in Home Firth. Well, that's it for tonight. That's everybody. Thank you very much to Causa Mukta, Mambo Jumbo. I've got a friend who's called Mumbo Jumbo, so I've been thinking Mumbo Jumbo, Mambo Jumbo, Jambo. Mambo Jambo, Pete and Frankie from Mambo Jambo and Pete Selwood. I hope you can get around and see some of the shows that has been presented this weekend. Tickets are selling fast. But if you go to the Home Firth Arts Festival website and click on What's On and follow the link, you'll be able to book tickets for any of the shows that you want to go and see. A lot of the shows don't need tickets, like Art in the Woods. It's a free event. You can just turn up and wander around, have a cup of tea. I don't think that's necessarily free, but you can see the events that are happening in the street, and you can book tickets for the events that are happening in the parish church, Coogee, and in the Civic Hall. For the rest of the night. Tomorrow night I'll be back at 10:15 and we'll have Charlie Wells who'll be playing a song which will be used in the festival parade on Sunday. I'll be playing an interview I did earlier this week with Mark Worth from Highly Sprung Theatre, who are bringing their show Urban Astronaut to Home Firth on Saturday, I believe. Let me just have a look. Picks up yes, Saturday, and Mark will be telling us what it's like to be suspended 15 feet in the air on a rig which he has no control over, apparently. We'll have Andrew and Kathy from Thingamajig Theatre who'll be talking about their show Kit and Caboodle, and we'll be getting music from the Haydedge Brass Band. They won't all be in here. We'll be playing a film of theirs that they made during lockdown. So until tomorrow night, at the same time, I wish you all good night. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.